A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Lord Skunk here, lordskunk.com. We're going to be doing another segment today on our guides and strategies for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. If you haven't done so yet, check out lordskunk.com. If you would like access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to some of the top players in the game, jump into our Discord. It is a voice and text chat program where you can connect with other players and ask questions about your roster, about different characters, about different strategies. Plus, there's all kinds of great guides and links in there. There's also an ally code channel where you can post your ally codes and find other ally codes for other players. Check out teamskunk.com. We do have a few remaining positions in our various guilds. And don't forget, please head over to Twitter and follow LordSkunk1. Also, you can find us on Facebook under LordSkunk1. We appreciate it. Let's get into the guide. In this segment, we're going to go over arena shipments. I've been getting a lot of requests for arena shipments. Arena shipments is pretty unique compared to a lot of the other shipments in the fact that there's no true standout must-have character, I don't believe. Unlike if you're going to farm Cantina battles, you have Geonosian Soldier. I think for sure, you want Geonosian Soldier. You definitely want him on your team, regardless of synergies or regardless of situation. He's just a good overall character. If you're looking at Cantina shipments, you have Qui-Gon Jinn in there. You have Fives. If you're looking at Galactic War shipments, you have Luminara. So I think out of all the shipments, arena shipments are unique in the fact that each character in there is kind of more like a utility character. Okay, they're going to be more used in certain situations and certain synergies. There's no clear standout. There's no character that you just have to have, that can kind of just go on any team and work. So we're going to go through each character and we're going to look at their abilities and what they can do, and how they would end up being maxed out. And then the rest of the characters, we're just going to kind of go through an overall view of those. So let's start with number one. Okay, the number one character who to farm in squad arena is going to be Stormtrooper Han. Now, the reason Stormtrooper Han makes number one on our list is that he for a tank, he brings taunt, which is good. Okay, there's not a ton of tanks or a ton of characters in the game that do bring taunt. The ones that do bring something unique, and they can definitely help you out in certain areas of the game. Now, they call Stormtrooper Han a versatile tank, able to surprise enemies with sudden turn meter changes and offense boosts. His power is 7901. His speed is 126. Okay, this is completely maxed out. His health is 16,624. Now add in his protection of 18,774, and you're sitting at over 32,000 total health or total health that you'd have to break through to take Stormtrooper Han out. Now, before we go any further with Stormtrooper Han, it's a good thing to note that he can get to tier 11 gear. Okay, so gear 11, and he can get 2 of 6 pieces into tier 12. So it's good to note, and his purple cost is 865. So, I mean, it's not too crazy compared to some of the other characters that are out there. You got characters like Chewbacca that's over 1,000 purples. So Stormtrooper Han's 865 purples. He does get to gear 11. He's one of a handful of characters that will get to gear 11 right now in the new level 80 cap. So he brings that to the table. So that gives him that boosted up power a little bit. And makes him a unique character in the fact that, one, he can taunt. Number two, he can give massive amounts of turn meter. And number three, he can get to gear 11. So I think he's a for sure number one top tier character out of arena shipments compared to what we're working with. Okay, so with what we have to work with, I think Han would be number one. Now let's look at his abilities. These are completely maxed out. So for Stormtrooper Han, his basic is Wary Shot. Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 55% chance to gain 35% turn meter. This attack has high damage variance. Okay, so that can be, he could be, he could do a lot of damage. He could do maybe not a lot of damage with that, but with that 55% chance to gain 35% turn meter, that's pretty good because the more turn meter you get, the faster you're going to go. Now his number two ability, which will be his first special. And only special is Draw Fire. Okay, this does have a 5-turn cooldown, but Han taunts for 3 turns, and all other allies gain 30% turn meter in addition. All other allies gain 20% turn meter whenever Han is damaged. So for me, when I see Han in arena, I definitely go for Han first. I just try to get him out as quickly as possible, preferably before he taunts, or at least not give him too much time for him to be able to keep that taunt up where he's giving turn meter back to the enemy. So for right now, at you're seeing gear level 8, gear level 9, and some gear level 10 Hans. They're kind of squishy, but I think as you get to gear level 11 Hans, when you start seeing more of them, he will definitely start to shine more. His leadership ability, Plan B, all allies gain 35% defense while above 50% health, and 35% offense while below 50% health. Now, compared to some of the other leaders that are out there, I don't necessarily think I would use Han as my leader, but that is his leadership ability. It may come in useful in certain situations, but I think there are much better leader options out there. And in his unique ability, Bluff, Han has a 25% chance to remove 30% turn meter from each enemy at the start of each of his turns. In addition, Han has a 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter from each enemy when he is damaged. So again, the longer Han stays in the game, the more benefit he's going to be for his team. So for me personally, when I'm going against Han, I just try to get him out as quickly as possible and move on. You see a lot of people, as of right now in the current meta, are trying to run Han and Royal Guard. So the first thing to do for me personally when I see them is I'm going to start on Han, get him out. Usually he will taunt before he gets to 50% health, so he won't trigger Royal Guard. But even if he did trigger Royal Guard, he would still taunt shortly after, and then you can finish him off. But overall, I think Stormtrooper Han brings a lot to the table in the fact that that he does taunt, he does get to gear 11, and he does give and take away a lot of turn meter. Gives a lot of turn meter for his team and takes away a lot of turn meter from the enemy. So out of all the characters listed in arena battles, I think he would be the first one that you would want to go for, and he would be the most useful. Our number 2 character on the list for Huda Farm and Squad Arena would be Admiral Ackbar. And again, Admiral Ackbar was one of those characters that they just recently did some reworks on. They made some changes to him in the last couple updates. He does have 113 speed, 8140 power, 14,585 health. He gets to gear 10, and he currently costs from 0 to 80, 700 purples. Now, what makes Admiral Ackbar so good? Well, he's a rebel support that can dispel debuffs and grant allies extra turns. I'm starting to see him a little bit more in arena, but where he's really starting to shine and excel is in these raids, okay, going up against the Rancor in the Gamorrean Guards prior to opening up the Rancor. So let's look at Admiral Ackbar abilities. His basic is Quick Shot, deal physical damage to target enemy with a 55% chance to gain 45% turn meter. It's a Trap, this is his first special. 4-turn cooldown, dispel all negative status effects from all allies. Each ally recovers 9% of their max health for each effect dispelled this way. Admiral Ackbar has a 25% chance to gain 40% turn meter. So there's a lot going on here, and it's a trap. Number 1, you're going to dispel all negative status effects from your allies. So if you are in a raid or if you're in PvP, you do get those negative debuffs on you, he is going to be able to remove those. Now, once you remove those, each ally is going to recover 9% of their max health for each one of those effects dispelled this way. So, if you got 3 or 4 of those negative debuffs on you, then that can add up pretty quick. And lastly, Admiral Ackbar has a 25% chance to gain 40% turn meter. So, if he gets the turn meter, it just makes him go faster. And his second special, Tactical Genius, is a 3-turn cooldown. Ackbar grants each ally the Tactical Genius effect. The first ally to use a special ability while they have this effect gains 100% turn meter and recovers 30% of their max health. Tactical Genius ends whenever an ally triggers this effect or at the end of Ackbar's next turn. So this is where they reworked. This is the ability that they fixed. Now this used to just be random. He used to just use this power, whether it was the AI or whether you were doing it, if you were playing him. And it would just randomly go to an ally. Now, it could go to somebody that already had almost full turn meter, or it could go to somebody that's maybe not a DPS character. So they made the change where this is basically going to put a buff on somebody, and then whoever uses it, uses a special ability, is going to get it. So you kind of have a little bit more control over who's going to get this. So if you didn't want somebody to use it, for example, if Han was on your team, who we just talked about, if Han was on your team and Ackbar used this and you didn't want Han to trigger that Tactical Genius, then you would just use Han's basic. Next character up, let's say you had Hoth Rebel Scout on your team. You didn't want Hoth Rebel Scout to use this, then you would just use Hoth Rebel Scout's basic, so on and so forth until you get to the character that you would want to use. Then you would use their special ability, and then that would trigger Tactical Genius. So a pretty good improvement they made to Admiral Ackbar. Definitely moves him up on the list. Overall, as a healer, I mean, if you use them properly and you can get all this stuff to go off the way that you want it to, then he can bring some good healing to the table. But overall, he's more of a utility character where he can dispel these negative status effects from allies. Now, his leadership ability is Rebel allies have plus 25 speed and plus 10% tenacity. In addition, whenever an ally uses an ability that isn't an attack, they call a Rebel ally to assist. Okay, this is an interesting leadership ability. Now, this is for Rebels only, so similar to Qui-Gon Jinn's plus 25 speed for all Jedi, this is going to be 25 speed for Rebels, plus 10% tenacity. Now, something that Qui-Gon doesn't have is that whenever an ally uses an ability that isn't an attack, they call a Rebel ally to assist. So this is an ally, any ally. So if you had a non-Rebel on your team, they're not going to get the speed bonus, and they're not going to get the tenacity bonus, but if they do use an ability other than an attack, so let's say you had Luminara on the team and she healed, then they would call Rebel ally to assist. So they would call, Ackbar, or if you had Leia or Hoth Rebel Scout or one of those other characters, they would actually do the damage for you. So Luminara could heal, and then that other Rebel character could assist by doing damage. And for Ackbar, for gearing purposes, from 0 to 80 is going to be 700 purples. So 14,584 health with protection of 13,056. So just under 30k protection and health that you'd have to get through to take Admiral Ackbar out. So overall, I think Admiral Ackbar finds his places in certain situations, certain areas, and certain teams, especially with this rework that they did to make some improvements to him to make him a little bit better overall character. The number 3 character on our list is going to be Asajj Ventress. She's a Night Sister controller with self-healing who generates attack power on enemy death. Now, the reason that Asajj is bumped up on my list personally is, again, going back to raids, is that she does bring some nice abilities when going into these raids, going into certain situations. So for power, she's 7,697 power, 98 speed, 13,237 health. She does have an additional 12,348 in protection. She's fairly inexpensive to gear at 580 purples from 0 to 80. Let's look at her abilities. Her basic ability, Cruel Strike, deal physical damage to target enemy with a 35% chance to stun for 1 turn. Any character that can bring a stun to the table is pretty nice. It is a 35% chance to stun. It is a basic attack, so you're going to be using that quite a bit. Her first special, Strike Fear, which is a 3-turn cooldown, dispel all positive status effects from all enemies, and Asajj recovers 40% of her max health. For each effect dispelled this way, Asajj recovers an additional 9% max health and has a 50% chance to remove 10% turn meter. Now let's look at this ability. Okay, dispel all positive status effects from an enemy or from all enemies, and Asajj recovers 40% of her max health. Now in this situation, if you had, let's just say, going back to that scenario we talked about earlier, you had Han that did his taunt, and you had Royal Guard that did his taunt, and then you had a few other characters that had buffs or whatever on their team. You could essentially, with this ability, Strike Fear, remove all of those effects. So you can remove those 2 taunts. You can remove, let's say Lumi did a heal and she's doing healing over time. You could remove all those buffs from those characters. And then for each effect or each buff that you dispelled that way, Asajj would recover an additional 9% max health. She also has a 50% chance to remove 10% turn meter from those enemies. Not a bad ability overall, with only a 3-turn cooldown. Her second special, Endless Wrath, deals special damage to all enemies and refresh all cooldowns on a finishing blow. So if you see somebody that's low, and again, this is another AoE, so 2 AoEs that she has for her special. Her leadership ability, Night Sister Swiftness. Night Sister allies gain 28 speed and have a 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter whenever they damage an enemy. So not bad overall if you're running a full Night Sister team. There's not a lot of other Night Sisters that I really personally like. Now there is a great guide on LordSkunk.com. So if you go to LordSkunk.com and search Night Sister, it will pull up a great guide that's very detailed written on how to use the Night Sisters and how they work and how you can best utilize them. Me personally, I just haven't invested the time and effort into doing a full Night Sister team. But if you were going to do that, then this would definitely be a leadership ability that you would want to consider. And finally, her unique ability, Rampage. Whenever an ally or enemy is defeated, Asajj Ventress gains offense up and critical chance up for 1 action, with a 25% chance to also gain 35% turn meter.
Now, where this would be nice, there's a couple areas where this could be nice. Number one, this could be nice in Galactic War. This could be nice in Arena. And this could be a nice ability in Phase 1 of the raid where you're facing the Gamorrean guards, because you are going to kill a couple of those guards. Now, unfortunately, this isn't going to do a lot for you when you're actually facing the Rancor, because you're not going to kill the Rancor to gain this buff. But against the Gamorrean guards, you could definitely utilize Rampage. When you kill one of the guards, she would gain critical chance up and offense up. So overall, another nice utility character that can be used in certain situations and certain synergies. Asajj Ventress brings a lot to the table, except when she's not leader. Unfortunately, she only has a base speed of 98. But if you can make her the leader of the team, that will increase significantly. Coming in at number 4 on our list is HK47. Now, I will make a special note. Unless you're going to go droid, then he would be number 1 on your team. If you're not focusing on droid, I did do a video recently talking about being completely free to play and going droid, going that route. If you're going to go that route, then HK47 should be number 1 on your list. But for overall, our generic list we're doing here, he's going to be number 4. With HK47, he's an offensive support with a variety of debuffs and a high chance to self-revive once. He does sit at 7,900 5 power with a base speed of 97, with a health of 19,422 and protection of 20,832. So 40,000 combined health and protection does make him pretty tanky. Let's look at his abilities. His basic attack is superior firepower, deal physical damage to target enemy with a 55% chance to gain offense up for 3 turns. His number 2 ability and his first special and only special is Meatbag Mayhem, 3-turn cooldown, deal physical damage to all enemies with a 25% chance to inflict ability block, speed down, offense down, defense down, and damage over time for 1 turn. These chances are doubled against Jedi. So this is a nice ability. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it does bring some utility to the table. And also with this, it will help break down protection a little bit. So in the beginning of an arena match, when you throw out that Meatbag Mayhem, it will help break down the protection for the whole team, the whole enemy team. His leadership ability, Assassin Protocol, droid allies gain 30% critical chance and gain 50% turn meter on a critical hit. Now this is a nice ability. With HK47, what I've done with my droid team is that I'll alternate between him and Poggle. I'm just kind of mix that up a little bit, but it is nice when you have those droids on there to get that extra turn meter. And you do get that quite often. It does speed up your droids quite a bit. In addition, by throwing Poggle on there, who can give speed up, as well as just being on the team, not even being a leader, that really helps in making your droids going from a semi-automatic to a machine gun. And then his final ability is unique, is Reconstruction. HK47 has a 75% chance to revive with 30% health the first time he is defeated. So he will come back, and he will have a little bit of health. This can be nice in certain situations. Sometimes he'll do it, and it won't really mean a lot because, you already have won the match or you've already lost the match. But there are some unique situations where you come back and it's just timed perfectly, and he does get a chance to really turn the tide for you. His gear cost is going to be from 0 to 80 is going to be 800 purples. So, I would say mid-tier, mid-range, upper top tier in being difficulty of getting that gear. But overall, HK47 can bring a nice utility to your team, especially if you're running droids. Primarily if you're running droids. I couldn't really see HK47 on a non-droid team. Out of all the droids, if I was going to say who would be the most replaceable, I would say HK47 would be. Just due to the fact that you could technically run Poggle, 88, 86, Geo, and maybe throw in like Jawa Engineer or another character to be able to fill that 5th spot. But overall, HK47 is a nice character to have, and he is best, especially if you're starting out. If you're just starting out or you're new to the game, HK47 paired with the other droids and Geonosh and Soldier and maybe even a Royal Guard or Docker or somebody thrown in there just to get started, or Poe, can definitely do work. All right, coming in at number 5 is going to be IG88. Unless, again, you're going droid, then he would be number 2 on your list. But on this particular list, we're just looking at a generic character listing. He comes in at number 5. IG88 is a droid attacker with debuffs and a damage bonus against debuffed enemies. He has 7,552 power, base speed of 121, 10,830 health with 9,573 protection. So right around 20k with health and protection does make him a little bit squishy, and he should be one of your first priorities if he's on the enemy team. Let's look at IG-88's abilities. His basic is Mortal Wound, deal physical damage to target enemy with a 60% chance to inflict healing immunity for 2 turns. So another character that will be on this list is Darth Sidious, and he also can bring healing immunity to the table. I actually like, when comparing the two, I actually like IG-88's better. I think IG-88 is going to do more damage, and plus he has that ability to put that healing immunity on them. Plus he can be very well in those droid synergy groups. Number 2 ability, and his first special and only special, is Rapid Fire. It is a 4-turn cooldown. Deal physical damage to all enemies with a 55% chance to inflict ability block for 1 turn and a 50% chance to inflict defense down for 2 turns. Now, this is another reason I like him better than Darth Sidious, is that I like this AoE better. Okay, so they're very similar characters in what they do, but dealing his physical damage to all enemies, he's going to have that 55% chance to inflict ability block for 1 turn, which is really nice, especially if you have like a Poe on your team. Poe will usually go first, taunt, expose the enemies on the enemy team, and then you will use the AoE for IG-88, just bumping up that damage even more. And then his leadership ability is called Resourceful Pursuer. All allies gain 20% critical chance and inflict a damage over time effect whenever they score a critical hit. And then lastly, Adaptive Aim Algorithm is his unique. IG-88 has a plus 45% critical damage and deals 20% more damage for each enemy suffering a negative status effect. So again, going back to that scenario I gave earlier, is if you do happen to have Poe on your team and Poe does taunt and exposes the enemies, then when IG-88 does his AoE, it can do some significant damage to the enemy team. Now let's look at gearing 88. From 0 to 80, he's 660 purple, so not too bad there compared to some of the other characters on this list. And overall, out of the droids, I would say he would be at least the number 1 or number 2 option between him and 86. Could you put 88 on a non-droid team? See, I think that you could just in certain situations, but overall he's going to excel most when he's with droids. Coming in at number 6 is going to be the ability Material Mk3. And for most people that are new, you're still going to want to get characters, but if you are established and you have been playing for a while, for example, in my situation, I do have almost every one of these characters in arena shipments where I could 7-star them. May not be 7-star, but I have enough shards to 7-star them. I don't really need to get any more characters out of here. So when I first saw this for 700 arena tokens, I was like, man, that's pretty expensive. But if I don't need the arena tokens and there's nothing else I'm really using them for, then it makes sense to put them towards this. Now, I'm trying to gear up characters and get characters' abilities up for different arena teams I want to try out and for the raid. So this kind of comes in handy in the fact that I do get additional access to the ability Material Mk3, which is the purple ability mat. So if you're a little short on purple ability mats and you don't need any more characters, or you don't maybe need some of these other characters on this list, then I would definitely go for purple ability mats out of arena shipments. So with that being said, we're through our top 6 here. Now the rest of these characters are just going to be characters if you decide that you want to go get them. I'm just going to put them in the order that I would say they would be worth getting. You know, there may be some options that you would think would be better based on the teams that you're building or based on what you're trying to accomplish, but this is an overall generic list of who to go for in arena and in what order. Now for me, like I said, it's better off for me to go for ability materials at this point. I don't really use any of the other characters on this list, even though I do have some of them at 7-star or the ability to 7-star them. So number 7 on our list for who to farm in Squad Arena is Darth Sidious. Now, new players can definitely find a lot of usefulness in Darth Sidious, but once you get past that level 60, for sure past level 70, he doesn't quite bring the brutalness that they say he does. So let's look at Darth Sidious. Brutal attacker, effective against healers and Jedi while boosting ally criticals as a leader. So I think there's better leadership options, and again, we looked at 88. I think overall 88 would be a better character to put in there. If you are facing a lot of Jedi on your particular arena server, then maybe you could look at putting Darth Sidious in, but overall I think Darth Sidious has fell quite a bit as you continue to level up. He does have 7,565 power. He is pretty fast with 161 speed. His health is only 10,887, and his protection is only 10,727. So very similar to IG-88 in regards to squishiness. I just think 88 brings more to the table. Now, the one nice feature that Darth Sidious does have is his unique ability called Sadistic Glee. Sadistic Glee is going to recover 20% of Darth Sidious max health whenever any unit is defeated, with a 25% chance to also gain 50% turn meter. In addition, he has plus 35% evasion against Jedi attackers. Now, where this comes in nice is that this is not only on the enemy team, but this is also on your team. So if somebody on your team happens to die, then he will also gain that health bonus. So if you're on a newer server or lower, you're just starting out, then you may want to look at possibly going for Sidious. Maybe he would be just a tad bit higher on this list for you. But for overall, for most people, Sidious is going to come in at number 7. Number 8 on our list is going to be Eeth Koth. Eeth Koth is a stunning Jedi support, extremely effective against droids. We just don't see enough anti-droid need for teams right now. He does bring a few nice abilities overall. His power is 7673, 132 speed, 14,553 health, with an additional 12,026 of protection. His basic ability is going to deal physical damage to target enemy with a 50% chance to inflict defense down for 3 turns. If the target is a droid, this attack has a 100% chance. So if you do, for whatever reason, happen to see a lot of droids on your particular arena server, it may be worth it to run Eeth Koth. But overall, I don't think he's... I think there's much better characters you could put on your team. Now, I did talk about Eeth Koth in the past in some of my guides, and the fact that he could be helpful in trying to get the Yoda event, trying to get those 5 Jedi. So if you do need 5 Jedi, this is the only Jedi in Arena Shipments. So you could definitely go for Eeth Koth in Arena Shipments if you don't have 7-star Yoda yet. But if you already have 7-star Yoda and you already had your other Jedis that completed that event, I wouldn't focus so much on Eeth Koth. His second ability, which is his first special, Force Push, 3-turn cooldown, deal special damage to target enemy with a 75% chance to stun for 1 turn and a 100% chance to inflict ability block for 3 turns if the target is a droid. So again, if you're facing droids, this would come in handy. But other than that, 1 stun for 1 turn, I don't think it could change the whole entire game. It could be annoying, but it's not going to change the whole. His leadership ability brings 60 defense just to Jedi allies. And then his anti-droid specialist unique ability, Eeth Koth has a plus 35% critical chance and plus 20% critical damage when attacking droids. Now, the one thing that he does have, which is pretty nice, is that his gearing cost is very low. He's at 360 purples, which would be equivalent to somebody like Qui-Gon Jinn. So it doesn't cost a lot to gear him up. He does get to gear 10, halfway to gear 11. Here's a character that I hear a lot about. Coming in at number 9 is Asajj Opress. He is a durable attacker that crushes low health units and becomes stronger when attacked. Power 7814, speed of 117, health of 21,253, with an additional 20,778 in protection. So sitting at over 40, almost 42k in health and protection. So he is pretty tanky. Okay, but let's look at his abilities. Staggering Blow, deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict offense down for 2 turns on a critical hit. Overpower, 3-turn cooldown, deal physical damage to a target enemy and gain critical chance up and critical damage up for 3 turns on a finishing blow. If the target has 25% low health or below, this attack deals massive damage and cannot be evaded. If you play other games where you have warriors that can execute and basically take out low health characters, that's what Asajj Ventress brings to the table with his overpower ability. If you are in the red, he will kill you, so you're guaranteed to die. So I guess technically, in somewhere like possibly Arena, I just don't think he quite is there yet for Arena to be top tier. But for Galactic Wars, I do hear about people, Savage can help them out. Now, he must be a fan favorite because I get that question a lot on the live shows and then, on comments to these videos, asking about Asajj Ventress, especially when they announced the changes to combat, where they thought lower speed attackers were going to be, do super tons of damage. Unfortunately, with the way it worked out, it didn't happen that way. So Asajj Ventress did not rise up like people thought he would. But overall, I could see him being useful maybe in Galactic Wars if you just want to put him on one of your teams, that can take out certain characters. And then his leadership ability, Pain is weakness. Sith allies gain 65% defense and other allies gain half that amount. I think even if you're going Sith, there's better leadership abilities there. And then his unique ability, Brute. Whenever Savage takes damage, he gains offense up and defense up for 1 turn and has a 50% chance to gain 30% turn meter. Now, the thing I do with Savage, typically when I see him in, and I only really ever see him in Galactic War, when I do see him is I just usually wait for him till the end. I just finish him last, because when you do hit him, of course, he's going to give this buff to himself. And then his gear cost is 730 purples from 0 to 80. So again, for me, he's not on my list to go for. He's not somebody that I'm working on or going to bring on any of my teams. But I know he is a fan favorite. A lot of people do like him. So if you do like him, go for him. He could be helpful in Galactic Wars. We'll see as we start to reach, max level 80 with some of these max abilities, how he'll perform in Arena. But as of right now, I don't see him being super viable, at least not top tier in Arena. Coming in at number 10 on our list is Newt Gunray, an attacker with powerful stealth bonuses and a potent thermal detonator. Now, anybody that has thermal detonators, we know they're not that potent. But he does have 74 power with 150 speed, 11,071 health, with an additional 9877 in protection. So sitting right around 20k health and protection, similar to Darth Sidious or IG-88. Let's look at his basic ability, Cowardly Shot. Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 70% chance to gain stealth for 1 turn. So this is what's going to get him stealthed up. Whereas other characters, they actually have an ability like a Tebow or a Leia where they can stealth. This is just a chance to stealth. Pretty high chance, but still just a chance. His number 2 ability and his first and only special is Grenade Toss. It is a 5-turn cooldown. Place a thermal detonator on target enemy that explodes after 3 turns, dealing damage to the affected target and 60% of that amount to all other enemies. Very low AoE damage at only 60%. Okay, and it does take 3 turns to get there. Now, being that this is a debuff, characters like Rex or Ewok Elder or other characters can remove that negative status effect, from the enemy team. So that may never even come into play. And then his leadership ability, Backroom Subterfuge, is stealth allies gain 55% critical chance and gain 30% turn meter on a critical hit. Now, a lot of people talk about, because of this leadership ability, you could be really good with some stealth characters like Leia and Tebow. I just don't see it being meta. I don't see it being super dominant. It could be kind of fun. It could be something unique to throw in there. But overall, I just don't see it happening, at least not right now. Shrewd Tactics is his unique ability. Newt Gunray gains 4% defense for each living ally and a 65% critical chance while stealth, which again is nice if he is stealth, but he's not guaranteed to be stealth. Again, there's a pretty high chance that he will be, but there's no guarantee that he will. And then his gear cost is 700 purples from 0 to 80. So overall, I have no desire to work on Newt Gunray. I do have stealth characters of Leia and Tebow, for example, but I just don't see him pairing with him. I think there's other options, better options to go with when looking at those characters. Coming at number 11 on our list is Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, Grand Moff Tarkin is an Empire character. If Empire teams were a little bit more dangerous or more useful or more viable in certain areas of the game, I could see Grand Moff Tarkin maybe being a little bit higher on that list. But he has an offensive Empire support with crushing AoE debuffs. 7357 power, 102 speed with 12,190 health. He also has 11,112 protection. So sitting right around 23k total with health and protection, give or take. Grand Moff's basic is going to be deal physical damage to 1 target. This attack deals 10% more damage for each living ally. His first special is Ultimate Firepower, 4-turn cooldown. Deal special damage to all enemies with a 45% chance to remove 70% of their turn meters. His second special is Intimidation Tactics, 3-turn cooldown. Inflict offense down on all enemies for 3 turns and speed down for 3 turns on all rebel enemies. In addition, Tarkin has a 55% chance to gain 50% turn meter. And then lastly, his leadership ability, Empire allies gain 28 speed, and that's called Tighten the Grip. 410 purples to gear from 0 to 80. So I don't think that Grand Moff Tarkin is too far off from being higher up on our list and higher up tier-wise overall for characters. There's just a few things holding him back. Again, like I said, Empire teams are just not that strong right now. And the other thing is that until we can get Vader legitimately to Star 7, I really don't see Empire teams doing too much. But with Tighten the Grip, Empire allies would gain 28 speed, so which is nice. It's going to be similar to like Qui-Gon brings for Jedi, or Admiral Ackbar brings for Rebel. Coming in at number 12 on our list, everyone's favorite bounty hunter, Greedo, of course, right? Greedo be your favorite. He's a deadly attacker that gains extra attacks from critical hits, 69-62 power, 122 speed, 11,655 health with an additional 10,699 in protection. Let's look at his ability. Who shot first? Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 45% chance to gain evasion up for 2 turns. Alright, does some damage. Thermal detonator, 5-turn cooldown. Place thermal detonators on all enemies that explode after 2 turns with a 40% chance for Greedo to gain 25% turn meter. Okay, again, thermal detonators, as we know, are not that great of an ability. This can be dispelled by Ewok Elder or Rex or some of these other characters that can dispel debuffs. Let's see here. His leadership ability, Scoundrel Allies gain 50% critical damage. And his unique ability, if at first you don't succeed. Greedo has a plus 15% critical chance and a 50% chance to attack again whenever he scores a critical hit. Kind of costly to gear at 970 purples. If Greedo's one of your favorites and you want to go for him, hey, great. Not personally for me, he's not anywhere on my list. Now, they have been hinting for a while a Scoundrel event coming up, so we'll see. There's some other Scoundrels that I think might be a little bit better options, but Greedo could be your arena Scoundrel that you get out of there, or Newt Gunray. So either one of them, you could use for a Scoundrel event. Number 13 on our list is going to be Ugnot, an anti-droid support with AoE damage and high evasion against droids. Now, unfortunately, Ugnot is not doesn't bring better abilities to the table because he's kind of a cool-looking little character. A lot of people call him Thugnot. His power is 7943, 130 speed, 13,295 health with an additional 13,239 in protection. Let's look at his abilities. Break Open. Deal physical damage to target enemy. This attack deals 100% more damage and inflicts defense down to droids. Droid Experts. 3-turn cooldown. His first and only special. Deal special damage to all enemies with a 75% chance to stun droids for 1 turn. And then his unique ability, One Step Ahead. Ugnot gains 9% evasion for each droid enemy and gains 25% turn meter whenever he evades an attack. So again, another character that's heavily anti-droid. So unfortunately, right now we're not seeing a lot of droid teams. Maybe, who knows, with Jawa Engineer coming up, as more people get him out of guild shipments, maybe we'll start seeing more droids in arena. But as of right now, we just don't see enough droids overall for Ugnot to be as viable. He is 570 purples from 0 to 80. If you're just like Ugnot for the overall cool factor of Ugnot, then absolutely go for him. But other than that, I don't see a ton of viability and utility for him in different areas of the game. And number 14 and last on our list is Khorasan Underworld Police. He is a support, or she is a support that shuts down enemies with stuns and offense down. 7125 power, 106 speed, 11,282 health with an additional 11,435 health. Let's look at the abilities for Khorasan Underworld Police. The basic attack is non-lethal takedown. Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 50% chance to stun the target for 1 turn. Not that exciting. Does stun, though. Does stun. So that's the one saving grace for Cup, or Khorasan Underworld Police, is that it does have that stun. Non-lethal crowd control. Deal physical damage to all enemies with a 70% chance to inflict offense down for 2 turns. So when you have abilities and specials and uniques called non-lethal, probably not that exciting of a character. And then non-lethal specialist, which is the unique ability, Khorasan Underworld Police gains 30% potency. In addition, he gains 20% turn meter whenever he inflicts a negative status effect. And then gear-wise, 0 to 80, 670 purples. I just don't see a ton of options or a ton of utility for this particular character compared to a majority of the other characters available in the game. But I guess if you for whatever reason you wanted to work on Khorasan Underworld Police, you could maybe find some utility in certain areas, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to do so. So that concludes our Huda Farm and Squad Arena segment. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or you have any comments you'd like to make, please leave those in the comment section below.
Thanks for checking out the guide. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you guys would like to see more guides in the future. Don't forget again to check out LordSkunk.com. Follow me on Twitter, LordSkunk1. On Facebook, LordSkunk1. And if you're looking for a long-term guild, don't forget to check out TeamSkunk.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Soon reach across the galaxy. Luke, Leia, Han, and Lando hugged each other happily as the Ewoks danced around the victory fires. Then Luke caught sight of 3 familiar figures, the spectral images of Yoda, Obi-Wan, and his father, Anakin Skywalker, smiled proudly at the young Jedi.